welcome to Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today we're going to be creating some fun stenciled cards using a few different products from this month's Spellbinders clubs, but the main one is going to obviously be the stencil of the month. So I chose to make this the feature of this video because I really love the way that they've done them this month, because they work on their own. So this is one set of layering dies that creates a pattern, and these three are another set of layering dies that could create a separate pattern. So you've got two different patterns you can create with them, but then obviously like this one could be a nice pattern on its own. You don't have to use them layered. You could use them separately as well. So there's lots of different ways to use them that way, but then they've made them even more flexible by creating them so that they also work with the BETTERPRESS of the month and the embossing folder of the month. So we'll be creating some really fun cards using them in those different ways. So first I'm going to create a card using this set of stencils just on their own so that you can see what they look like without being teamed with anything else. I'm going to bring in my diamond press sticky mat because I love a sticky mat for stenciling, because it holds my cardstock in place so that's not going to slip. And then if I line up my stencil over the card, then I can also stick that down round it and it'll keep that in place as well. So I'm going to use some Altenew inks today, and I'm putting them on my sticky mat as well because then I can ink them up with one hand, which means that if I'm holding my stencil I can just kind of go back and forth like this and not worry about having to hold the ink pad as well. So the first one I'm going in with is this crystal violet. So then we can remove that one. And you can see that looks really pretty on its own. You can use these separately, you don't have to use them all together. And then I'm going to add on this one. And I'm going to go with this amber blaze for this one. And then I'm going to line up this one. And I'm going to use the autumn blaze for this one. Actually, I don't think that's a big enough contrast to the amber blaze. I was expecting it to be a bit darker, so I'm going to go in with this redwood instead. So now we've got this really pretty pattern, and you can see that these stencils are stunning even without any of the coordinating products. So I just clean off the excess ink off here and off the stencils with a water wipe. So then I've cut this down to 1/4 of an inch smaller than my card blank, and then I'm going to use this a little Hello Sentiments stamp and die set, which is one of my favourites. It's an older one, and it comes with the 3 layers of the hello, and then it comes with a set of sub sentiments to go with it and the die to cut that out. And you can see I keep all of my sub sentiments in there, so I've actually already got one that goes with my card that says my dear friend on it. So then I'm going to just glue together the layers of my hello. And then if I put this on here, you can see you can still read it, but it gets a little bit lost. So I'm going to add on some vellum just to soften that pattern out where the sentiment's going to go, just to help that stand out a little. So I've cut the strip down to 2 inches, and I'm just going to fold that round my stenciled layer, and I'm going to attach it at the back so that you can't see any glue through that. And then I'll glue that onto my card front. Then I'm going to add some fine pads to the back of my sentiment pieces, and then I can add those onto my card. And then I think that's a really pretty card and quite quick to make as well. So then for the next card I'm going to use the other set of stencils, and this time I'm going to pair it with the embossing folder. So the other set of stencils pairs with this embossing folder of the month, and again you can use them on their own just as we used the last set of stencils, but for this one I thought it'd be nice to have the added dimension of the embossing folder. So when you put it into here, just make sure that you line it up so this square is in the middle of your cardstock, and then it will line up with the stencil as well. So I like how those colours look together, so I'm going to go with the blue and the yellow again. So I'm going to line this stencil up with the embossed panel beneath. So I'm going to go in with the crystal violet first. And this is going to be my main colour. This is the stencil that has the most coverage on it. And then I'm going to line this one up. I'm going to use the Amber Blaze. So I think that's really striking, and it's got loads of dimension from that embossing folder as well. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different with this one. I just cut out that middle square of our stenciled panel to make a square card. So then I've got a 5-inch card blank, a 4.5-inch piece of yellow. This comes up at 3¼ inches, and I've cut this piece of blue at 3.5 inches. So then I want sentiment for it. And for this I'm going to use this stamp and die set of the month. So this is a kind of one for your loved one. So it's like to my grandma, for my grandson, Happy Father's Day, Happy Mother's Day, all those kind of things. Then you've got daughter, son, mum, mom with an O, and dad. And you've got all sorts of lovely sentiments in there. And then the great thing about this is that you've got 2 lots of these panels, and this die fits with both, so that you can stamp them once, cut them out once, and have all those sentiments. And then you've also got all of these individual dies to cut out the son, the mum, the mom, the dad, the daughter. So I think that's a really nice set. And I want to use a Mother's Day card because Mother's Day is coming up in the UK soon. So I'm going to use this panel, and then I'm going to use the mum as well. And I'm going to heat emboss those in white onto this blue cardstock. So then I'm going to stamp this on here, and I'll stamp this mum as well. I'm going to heat emboss those in white. So I'm going to die cut those. So then I've got all these sentiments ready for another time as well. So I'm going to glue all the pieces together. So I've just cut a bit of double-sided foam to a bit smaller than my panel. And then I'm just going to pop my sentiment up. So I'm going to put the mum in the middle here. And then I'm going to add the Happy Mother's Day at the bottom. And then I'm going to go in with some of these gems just around that central piece where the dots are. Then that's that second card done. Then for this final card, I'm going to use the BETTERPRESS of the month because this coordinates with that first set of stencils that we used, and it's just going to add a bit of definition around them. So with this set you get the base plate, you get 2 sentiments, one that says just because I care, and then another one that says you're a true friend, and there's a die to go with those sentiments as well. And obviously you can get the BETTERPRESS cardstock to go with this, and when you use the BETTERPRESS cardstock it does leave like a nice letterpress impression, but I'm not really worried about that today because I think you'll probably lose that with the stenciling anyway. So I'm just going to use normal cardstock, and I think that it's really nice to use this with normal cardstock because number one, it's not as expensive as the BETTERPRESS cardstock, and I love to use my BETTERPRESS because you get such a nice crisp finish that you don't always get on those big cover stamps. So I'm going to ink this up with my black BETTERPRESS ink. And of course, if you've got a foiling machine, you can also use these plates with your foiling machine. This would look absolutely gorgeous foiled. And of course, you can use this without the stencil as well. Like, how pretty would this look on a blended background? You could just do a simple blended background, put this over the top, and have a really gorgeous background for your card. or you could colour it with any of your types of colouring mediums. You could do a gorgeous monotone card and just leave it as it is. So I'm just going to pop that through my die cutting machine. And you get this really gorgeous, delicate look to it. And it's so quick and simple to do that this is a great way if you wanted to bulk make cards. So I'm going to bring in my sticky mat again. I'm going to add this to my sticky mat. So I'm going to line up this over the BETTERPRESS image. I'm going to use this slightly paler Alpine Aster for this one. And then I'm going to use the Amber Blaze next. And I really love the detail on these stencils. And again, you could use as many of these stencils as you want. I actually think that looks really pretty without the third stencil, but I'm going to use the third stencil anyway. I'm going to go back to that darker crystal violet blue that I've used on the other cards. So I think that looks really pretty now. And you can see the difference between these. Obviously we've used slightly different colours, but you can see that this just adds a little layer of detail that makes it look more like a kind of tiled effect, I think. It's a bit more delicate. So now I've heat embossed those exact same sentiments for this one. This might be a Mother's Day card for my mother-in-law, I think. And I'm going to use the little trick with the vellum again. So let's fold that round here. So I've cut the edges off this. So this now measures 5.5 by 3.25 inches. And then I'm just going to glue these behind like I did with the other card. And then I've got a piece of blue cardstock that is 1/4 inch bigger. Or I should say 1/4 inch wider because it's still the same height. It's still 5.5 inches tall. And then I've got a yellow piece that is 4 inches wide and 5.5 inches tall. I'm going to glue that onto there. And then I'll glue that onto my card blank. And then I'm just going to add some of these little gold gems from the Spellbinders Fashion Gold gems into the centre of here to add just a little bit extra. And then I'm going to add on my sentiment, some foam strips. So there's that card finished. So then there are all 3 of today's cards, and I love that you get quite different looks from using this with the BETTERPRESS to without. And again, you could get this same pattern by using just the stencils on their own, but it's nice to have that extra raised level by embossing it as well. So I hope that you enjoyed creating today's cards with me. I'd love to know which is your favourite. Please do let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to my blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.